What's up everybody, it's Victon here with my first League starter guide for 3.13 Ritual League. I am super hyped for this league. I think it's going to be a ton of fun with all that new in-game Atlas stuff, and of course just the Ritual League itself. Now there's been a ton of talk about summoner builds being dead because of the major Spectre and Golem nerfs, which by the way aren't as bad as you might think. I do also have incoming Spectre and Carrion Golem League starter guides, so check those out if you're interested. I'm going to have them linked in the description here. But guess what guys, guess what was not nerfed at all? You guessed it, by the title of this video, Dominating Blow. It was already one of the highest DPS builds out there and they didn't even touch it. And not only did they not nerf Dominating Blow, but they also didn't nerf really bad the Guardian Ascendancy. There was only very minor changes. And since all these other top minion skills had major nerfs, this actually brings Dominating Blow, in my opinion, up to one of the top minion builds. Now, of course, some people might not like the playstyle, and I completely understand that. I personally rather enjoy attacking myself to summon my army of minions, and have always enjoyed Dominating Blow, so for me, it's totally fine. Now, I do want to preface this whole guide by kind of summing up the build for you guys just real quick. Basically, this build is incredibly cheap. You can absolutely play this solo self-found, in hardcore, or in softcore, all totally fine. You're going to have a very high block chance, really good physical damage mitigation, easily cap your elemental and chaos resistance, and you're going to be a super speedy boy with all a really high move speed, and you're going to have a decent life pool with just over 5k life in really bad gear, and best of all, we end up with just under 13 million Shaper DPS. That compared to the numbers you're getting with these league starters for Spectres and for Carriums right now, that's actually more than double what those builds are doing, and it does it for a fraction of the cost to build the character. Not to mention that the in-game version of this build jumps up to over 20 million DPS and is probably 3 times as tanky with 60,000 armor and just under 9,000 energy shield, just to name a few things. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here, this is just the league starter build. Also, as always, before we get into this guide, if you end up enjoying this guide, do consider subscribing and hitting that like button for more content just like this. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel, I have a link to my Patreon where you can subscribe to get more juicy benefits like access to my sub-only Discord, where you have an awesome community of folks just like you ready to chat about all sorts of builds, and I'm personally in there all the time doing build reviews for people. That, or come by my Twitch channel, which is also linked below. Just come hang out or ask as many questions as you want. I'm always happy to help. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into the path of building. So what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of do a couple different things. We're first going to actually go talk about the Guardian Ascendancy changes. And then we're going to go over the POB leveling tree, so we'll come back to this in a second. And then we're going to go over the skills, we're going to go over the items that we're going to be using, and then I actually have a whole lot of leveling notes for you guys too. I've laid it out really nice for you guys so you can actually level from 1 all the way to the end with my little leveling guide in here. And after that, I actually have some helpful trade website links as well that I'm going to share with you guys, and a loot filter that I'm going to share with you guys as well. So lots going on here. Let's first go over the Guardian Ascendancy changes, which is right here. So not too much has changed here with the Guardian, so it's not going to take too long to go over this. Very minimal changes. So right here we have probably one of the bigger ones, I guess, and it's almost even nothing. So they removed 30% increased minion damage here, but they added a little bit of attack speed, cast speed, and move speed. And for us, all we really care about is that attack speed and move speed. But we're getting 20% attack and move speed. That's huge. So really nice on this one. This one actually doesn't affect us. We're not going to be using this point, although it is pretty cool. This 80% reduce effect curses on you. That could be really cool for a totem build using the what is it called, Soul Mantle. So that is pretty cool, but we're not going to be using this one. Harmony of Purpose, 20% chance to gain Power Frenzy or Endurance charges, and that is up from 10%. So basically, we're going to have all of our Endurance charges, all of our Frenzy, all of our power up all the time. Since we're Dominating Blow, we are hitting ourselves, so we're gonna have max charges up 24/7, and that kind of negates this one right here. We have 15% increased duration, which is down from 20%, but it really doesn't matter. We're going to be attacking so often that we're going to have full charges up all the time. And that's pretty much it for this. Like I said, very minimal changes to Guardian. So let's go ahead and hop back into the path of building here. And what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go over a kind of your tree as far as how you would level this. So what I have on all of my builds here is I do right here. So you're going to see leveling points, right? So 19, 25, 37. As you're leveling up, you can kind of just follow this guide and figure out exactly where to put all your points. So we're going to go start from the very bottom here, and I'll just kind of walk you guys through it. So as a Guardian, we're going to be starting out, we're going to go up, and we're going to get some super nice life very early on. And you're going to go out here just to spare some extra points. We're not going to go through these because there's really nothing that good over here. So after you get these really good life nodes, we're just going to get Grave Pact, which is a fantastic damage node for your minions. So we're gonna get that, and then we're gonna come and get some more life. So really good for early leveling, especially in a new league when you have not a lot of gear. This is gonna be fantastic because we're gonna have a lot of life straight off the bat. So after 19 points, we're gonna go up to the 25 points. So right around here is about when you're gonna be doing a dominating blow. Not exactly yet, so you might not want to pick this up just right now, but I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. Basically, the reason we're getting all of these things here, we definitely need some dexterity. We're definitely going to need some intelligence, so it is important to go ahead and pick those up. But once we get Resolute Technique, which is, we can kind of just talk about over here, around level, I think it's 28. So you get Dominating Blow at level 28, and you absolutely need Resolute Technique. Your hits can't be evaded. Never deal critical strikes doesn't really matter for us, but your hits can't be evaded. That is absolutely huge for us. Without this, our hit chance is like 60 something, and we can't spawn our minions with Dominating Blow if we're not attacking. And I guess just real quick, that's how Dominating Blow works. You guys might not have played Dominating Blow in a while, but basically the way Dominating Blow works now, they changed it a couple leagues ago and they made it a whole lot better than it used to be. Anytime you kill normal monsters, you get a normal Sentinel, which is essentially your minion, right? And you get 9 of those. But you also have the ability to summon those minions just by attacking things as well. So if you're on a boss and you can't kill monsters around it, let's just say it's a single boss like Cyrus, the in-game fight, right? You actually get your minions by just attacking it. So a really good change that they made a couple leagues ago. So the reason that is so important, we're not going to get those minions if we're not actually hitting the monsters. So we need to be able to hit 100% of the time. So we're going to go ahead and pick up Resolute Technique. That's very good early on. Just some more life up here. And we are going to go ahead and get some minion reduction just because we use quite a bit of auras. And the reason we're doing this is not actually accurate. This is with all of my stuff turned on later. You will be very low though if you don't get these aura effect nodes. Because we're going to be using several auras to make us pretty strong. So getting these, you will have enough mana to be able to cast your stuff and be just fine. If you don't do it, you won't, and it'll feel pretty crummy. So go ahead and pick those up. So after the 37 points, actually right around here too, by the way, guys, you will pick up your first passive nodes from the Labyrinth. My favorite thing in the game, the Labyrinth. Just kidding, it's not. I absolutely hate it. Harmony of Purpose. So this is like insane. This is such a good node, especially for early on. So nearby enemies cannot gain power, frenzy, or endurance charges. Nothing crazy there, but it is nice that you're not going to have to deal with that against enemies. But you and nearby party members share power, frenzy, and endurance charges with each other, okay? And we are using Dominating Blow, so we're attacking. So 20% chance to gain power, frenzy, or endurance charge on hit. So we're hitting all the time, and we are going to be maximum charges all the time, and we are sharing those charges with all of our minions. So our minions are also going to have maximum endurance, frenzy, and power charges, and that is super, super strong. It's more damage from the frenzy, and then they get crit chance from the power charges. So that is absolutely huge, and that is a fantastic first node. So from there, let's go ahead and go back down here. So we're going to go to our 45 points. We're just going to pick up some minion damage here. This is a fantastic node, Righteous Army. We're also going to get some life, which also has some nice chaos resistance on it as well. So pretty nice. Let's go down to 56, and we're just kind of making our way this way over here. These nodes are actually pretty big here, so it's just a little bit of minion damage, but we're also getting minion duration, which Dominating Blow is a duration skill. So the more duration you have for your minions, the longer they last. So let's say they last 30 seconds normally. If we're getting some of these duration nodes, now they're going to last 45 seconds or something like that. Something to that for, I think, I'm trying to remember exactly. I've played Dominating Blow on a Necromancer before, and they got a little bit more duration, but I had it all the way up to like a minute that these guys last. It won't be like that much on the Guardian, but it will be quite a bit. So you're not going to have to summon these guys all the time. It gets to a point where you summon all your dudes, and you can actually just run around the map like a normal summoner build for probably a good 30-40 seconds, and your dudes just absolutely wreak havoc. So it's like kind of a mixed play style. You can get up there and do a whole bunch of attacking yourself, but you can also just run around in circles like a normal summoner build. So it's pretty nice. Right around here, we're also going to be getting our second point here for Guardian, and this one is pretty strong as well. So we're going to get some nice elemental resistances, which is absolutely huge in a new league as a fresh character. Just going to help you survive a little bit more. And also very good here, where there is at least 5 nearby allies, so all of your Dominating Blow guys, you have 9 up pretty much at a minimum all the time. Those are your normal ones. You can also summon magic ones by killing magic monsters, and you can also summon rare sentinels. I think you can summon 3 magic ones and 1 rare sentinel. And by the way, that rare sentinel is actually kind of like a mini headhunter. Whenever you kill a rare monster and you absorb all of that monster's stats into your sentinel, so he can give you buffs like haste buff. So a pretty cool little function there. But yeah, so Radiant Crusade here. While there's at least 5 nearby allies, which you're always going to have, you and nearby allies have Onslaught. So what is Onslaught? Onslaught's 20% increased attack speed, cast, and movement speed. So even more attack and even more movement speed. That's 40% increased movement speed. Just between these nodes, it is so much movement speed. You guys are going to be zooming all over the place. And while there's at least 1 nearby ally, you and nearby allies deal 10% more damage. So just a fantastic damage node. Really, really strong. So moving on from there, let's go ahead and click the next one. 64 points, very basic up here. We're just going to get some life, and actually mana is very important here. It's going to let us see we're kind of creeping up there. The reason this is so low is because I have a level of 20 precision on here, so it'll be much higher when you're actually playing. But getting that mana is pretty important for multiple reasons. It's also very important on one of the later Guardian nodes that we get, but not for a long time. Deep Thoughts, very important. So moving on to the next one, 71. We're just getting some more life here. And we're also getting this node here, Lord of the Dead, just for some nice minion damage and some minion life. Moving on from there. And same thing here, we're actually going to start picking up some jewel sockets. And we're also going to get our last nodes over here. We'll talk about those in a second. But all of our jewels, and we'll also talk about the items in a second here. But we're going to pick up our jewels. Let's see how many we get. We get 1, 2, 3 jewels. Not a whole bunch, and that kind of helps again on your budget. Super easy. There's nothing crazy here. We're not having to do like the Carrion Golem primordial jewels. None of that stuff. And we do more damage than Carrion Golems. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so we picked up some damage and we picked up our jewels. So we also have over here 2 new nodes. So this one, Unwavering Crusade. Nearby allies have even more attack, cast, and move speed. But even more important than that actually the area damage doesn't really help us. But even more important than that is nearby allies intimidate enemies on hit. Intimidate enemies take 10% increased attack damage, so that's a 10% more multiplier. So very strong. Typically builds that have Intimidate, you have to use an awakened an awakened melee physical damage gem, which you won't get for a long time, and they're expensive. So just getting that for free right here is super strong. And that's your third one. I think I might have skipped. I'll try and fix that if I mess that up over here. But that's your third point. So you get this one first, Harmony of Purpose, and then you get Radiant Crusade second, and then you get Unwavering Crusade third. So super strong node. And then after that, for your Uber Lab, you're going to get Bastion of Hope. Basically what this does is it's a whole lot of block chance, and also you're unable to be stunned if you've blocked recently as well. So look at this. We have a base block chance of 59%, so that's already really high, and some decent spell block at 18, right? So we're going to be blocking all the time. And on top of that, you have 50% chance to block attack damage for 2 seconds every 5 seconds. So basically 40% of the time you will have max block. So let's go ahead into configuration here. Let me see if I can see where it is. So yeah, so Bastion of Hope. So let's see. so it jumps up to block chance 75%. So we're max block chance for attack damage when that is active. It's not always active, it's active 40% of the time, but that's still pretty strong. And if you've blocked in the past 10 seconds, which is forever, you and nearby allies are immune to stun. So basically all the time, because we're going to be blocking all the time with this. So we're basically immune to stun. If you've attacked recently, which we always will be attacking, you're going to have 10% chance to block attacks. And if you've cast a spell recently, you and nearby allies have 10% chance to block spell damage. So we're always going to be casting spells as well, because we're doing a lot of minion stuff, like Convocation, like Desecrate, like Flesh Offering. So that works really well for that. So those are all of the Guardian nodes. Let's go ahead and move on here to the final build, which basically is just adding in the cluster jewels. A whole bunch of cluster jewels up here. So let's go over the cluster jewels. Now, there were changes to Rotten Claws, okay? And it's actually not as bad as people think. So this is the jewel that I went with. It's super, super easy to roll this yourself. All you're looking for is Rotten Claws. There's obviously better things that you can do in like the in-game version, but for now, all you want is a Rotten Claws and whatever else. That's just gonna take you a few alterations and you got it. So Rotten Claws used to be minions have 20% chance to impale. Now it's 12. So we actually do need 2 of these. So I have one here, as you can see, and I have the other one here. And if we go into our calculations here, let's make sure we have Dominating Blow. Yep. So we have Impale chance of 97%, so almost 100%. And if we actually, I'll show you something that we can do here. This is not a, I guess not necessarily a budget, but it's something you could do later on. So your Dominating Blow, a default quality is what? Minions deal 20% increased damage. So let's just click that. Let's see if this is better together, right? So we're at 1.46 million and we're going to do, where is it here? Oh, I'm sorry. We're not doing this. Dread Banner. My apologies. Dread Banner. 10% increased aura effect, right? So that seems pretty good, right? 10% increased aura effect, but if you did Divergent, yep, it is a little bit more damage. It just gives you 5% chance to impale if you have Divergent Dread Banner, and it gave us just a little bit of damage, and that brought us up to 100% impale chance. But it's not necessarily. 97% is very good. Used to be able to do this almost with just having 1 Rotten Claws, but like I said, it barely affected this at all. So that's our large cluster jewels. So let's go over our medium cluster jewels. So we're going to do, again, very simple and easy to roll medium cluster jewels here. We're going to be using Feasting Fiends and Renewal. So one thing about Renewal is it also got a nerf, okay? So it used to be 10% chance to deal double damage while your minions are on full life. It is now 5%. It says 6% here, and that's just Path of Building. They made an error, I think, when they made the changes in the update. Don't worry about that. Basically, it's going to be, so what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4% less damage than this. That's basically nothing. That's probably like 100,000, maybe not even 100,000 damage. Probably about 70 to 80,000 damage loss. So very close to this. It's very accurate still. Yeah, so we're going to be doing Renewal, and that's also nice because we're going to be getting a lot of minion regen, which isn't huge for our builds because you're attacking and you're summoning new ones all the time, but making sure that they're on full life to get the benefit of that double damage is pretty nice. And we're also going with Feasting Fiends for kind of the same reason. It's a little bit of damage, a little bit of maximum life for your minions, which doesn't necessarily, again, help your sentinels from your Dominating Blow, but it does help your zombie, your Carrion Golem, which we are using 1 Carrion Golem, and later on, when we get an Animate Guardian, it'll have 10% max life, so 40, since we have 4, max life for your Animate Guardian as well. So pretty good, and it's actually very easy to roll these. And like I mentioned earlier, we have I have some links for you guys that are helpful trade website links to the trade website. And on it, you can actually just click it and it's going to take you to a page where you can buy these jewels in Ritual League. And it does, I'll explain it later, but it's to the, basically the eye level of this jewel determines what you can roll on it. And if you go above a certain eye level, you start being able to roll a whole bunch more. So what I've done, I've made it super easy for you guys. I've put the specific eye levels in there so that you can just search it and you can roll this very easily within those parameters of the eye level. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but basically what I'm trying to say here is it's very easy to roll this gem. Feasting Fiends and Renewal, it's not too bad. You can do it with alterations. Not too bad at all. Very cheap. And honestly, that's probably the most expensive part about this whole build, is rolling your cluster jewels. So I mean, what, 20 chaos worth of alterations? Nothing bad at all. So that's the tree itself. That's the final build. It's at only level 97, so even quite a bit more that you could put on here. You could put a whole nother, I'm sorry, it's only 93. You could put a whole another 7 points on here, so very, very good. And we're at 1.4, almost 1.5 million Shaper DPS per dominating blow minion, and we have 9 of them, so very, very good. So let's go over our skills. We're gonna start with dominating blow. So dominating blow, brutality, impale. This is an impale build, like I said earlier. Multi-strike, melee fizz, and minion damage. And look at this. This is all with 0% quality on everything. Very reasonable for like your day 1 or 2 of the league, or for casual players. You know, you're not going to have level 20 gems with 20% quality that early. So I made sure to put all of this with 0 quality. I do want to say though real quick that for a not budget build, I'm sure this is going to be expensive, but I still wanted to mention it. Dominating blow with Phantasmal is insane. Maximum 2 summon normal sentinels. So that's basically like a 23% more multiplier, because you have 9, but with this, now you have 11. So super, super big. So that's basically just adding another almost 3 million DPS to your total DPS with this. So very, very good. But I'm going to assume that that's probably going to be a little expensive. So for now, just go with the default. No worries. So that's dominating blow. Moving on to our auras here. So we have Dread Banner. On generosity, very, very important to get your impale chance up. Make sure those are linked. You don't have to link these other ones, but we're also gonna have pride and skitterbots here. These are just all your auras that you're running basically. Moving on, this is later. Once you're in maps, I would probably have this set up. You can do it early on if you want, but you don't have to. And I've also given you 2 options here, so you can either use shield charge or you can use whirling blades. I prefer whirling blades, but you could do either one. So let's just say whirling blades fortify, so that's going to be really nice for your defenses, faster attacks, and also molten shell. Or you could do shield charge, faster attacks, fortify, molten shell. So good for getting around. And don't worry, we do have a flame dash still for getting over ledges and all that stuff, but this will be mainly what you're moving around the map with, because you're also getting that juicy fortify for damage defense. So moving on to your next here, this is going to be your support minions. We're going to have summon carrion golems with raised zombie, and I'm not confident on having the raised zombie in there. You could honestly even put something like meat shield on your carrion golem. Really doesn't matter. If your zombies are dying all the time, just drop them and put in meat shield, because the most important thing is at least having some minion alive that is giving us feeding frenzy and maim. Those are very strong buffs to your dominating blow, so you need some minion to be giving us those. So again, if your raised zombies are dying, just get rid of them and put in meat shield. If they're not, keep in raised zombies and you'll be just fine. Moving on to the next one, we have Convocation, Flame Dash, and Desecrate. Very simple here. The only thing I want to note here is Desecrate you can actually leave at a level 1, and we're doing that just so the mana cost is as low as possible. So it's level 11, it's 11 mana cost, right? So let's put it up to 20 and let's see what that mana cost goes up to. It goes up to 26, so pretty huge. We definitely want to say with just 1, so we can have as low mana cost as possible, because mana is a little bit of a problem in this build, which we'll talk about here in a second. Next, we have cast when damage taken, Immortal Call. So again, very good for defense. We're able to fit a whole bunch of defense stuff in our build here, so it's pretty nice. And we also have Assassin's Mark. Now, we're not going with any curse like vulnerability or anything like that. It's actually so much more damage. Here, I'll actually show you guys real quick. So let's put in vulnerability here. That's what most people probably use, right? So vulnerability, we're at 1.28 million. We're going to take that away, and now we're at that 1.477 million. So way better for Assassin's Mark. And granted, it's only one enemy that you can put this on, right? Which is usually a boss. You're really only going to use this for bosses. Whereas vulnerability, it's just a big circle and you can cast it on anybody, right? The reason we're doing this is because Assassin's Mark is going to be fantastic for our build specifically, because our minions will have 3 power charges up 24/7, so that's giving them a lot of crit chance. So they're already going to have pretty strong crit chance, and then with this, it's just going to multiply their crit chance and their crit multiplier even more. It's just fantastic DPS, and it lasts 10 seconds. Super good for bosses. Throw it up on the boss. Other than that, you really don't have to use this. So very good there, and it gets us some damage with the Mortal Call, cast when damage taken. Just make sure you're using your levels here. You're not leveling up cast when damage taken a Mortal Call all the way. My preferred is to do a level 5 cast when damage taken and a level 7 a Mortal Call. Moving on here, we're going to have some unset rings, so make sure that you get unset rings so we can put some skills in. We are going to have a precision level 20, and that's not for us because we do have 100% hit chance with right over here, the Resolute Technique. So that's for our minions. Oops, where'd we go here? Precision is for our minions. Using precision, that's going to get our minions 100% hit chance, which gives them a lot of damage. So that's very good. Next is the very last one here, Flesh Offering. Also super good. Just a whole bunch of damage, even more attack speed, even more move speed, just the whole 9 yards. That's what we're going for. We're going for tons of attack speed, tons of movement speed. We want to be zoom boys, right? So very good on that. Very basic setup here. Nothing too crazy, honestly. Going over to our items, and you'll be able to tell this is incredibly cheap by just kind of looking at it. And you don't even have to do some of these things like the Lionized Remorse, even though that is super cheap. If you were on solo self-found, you don't have to do this. You can just do any shield that you want. I just have it in there because it has high block chance, has high life. That 5% reduced movement speed doesn't even matter for us because we're going to be shield charging or whirling blades around all the time. So that doesn't matter for us at all. And it gives us a whole bunch of life. So let's kind of go down the list here though. This weapon is probably like a 1 to 2 chaos weapon, and I'm thinking it's going to be that cheap because it comes from the Temple of Atzalotl. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it comes from the temple. It's a drop in there, and it's that if you see the minions deal 62% increased damage, and minions have 5% chance to deal double damage. So it's a whole bunch of damage there, and it comes from the temple, and I think the reason it's going to be cheap is because farming in the new Atlas stuff, you can put passive points for temple points, and I haven't looked at it exactly, but I know for sure that with that you're going to be running temples a lot more, and you're going to be having a lot more of these drops. So with there being a lot more drops, it's just going to be a lot cheaper, and on top of that, not a lot of people are going minion builds, I feel, right now, so it's going to just be even cheaper. So now you're also going to see there the Guardian buff, and just to explain that real quick what that is, minions have 40% increased attack, cast, and movement speed. I had to put that in manually because if you see over here, where are we? So all of the times where you see that on this over here, it actually doesn't affect your build. So especially like this one right here, you and nearby allies have onslaught. So what onslaught is 20% increased attack, move, and cast speed, right? It actually does, there's nowhere to put in configuration, do your minions have onslaught? There's one for do you have onslaught, but there's not for your minions. So we had to put that in manually. And that's basically what that is. And there's another 20% over there for a total of 40. So if you guys see that, that's what it is. Don't worry about, you know, saying, oh, what is that? It's an OP item. That's what it is. I had to manually put that in here. All right, moving on to your helmet. Nothing crazy here at all. You can easily craft this. You could probably craft this with like maybe 5 to 10 bound fossils yourself. So you can solo self-farm this if you want. And the reason that we're doing this is to help out with mainly life for our minions. And that's again for our carrion golem, and if you do choose zombies, you're going to throw it in there as well, and that is getting them just more life so they stay alive, and that's that +2 to socket of minion gems, and also the 18 minion life. That immolate we don't care about, don't worry about the immolate. And if you can have a crafted life on there, that's fantastic as well, but the biggest things there is getting as much life for your carrion golems as possible so they stay alive, so they are giving you that maim and feeding frenzy buff. Easy peasy, super easy to craft. Moving on to our body armor. So basically what I did here is I just picked up the cheapest 6-link I could, and I self-crafted it with greed essences. So I threw on like 2 greed essences, and this is what I came up with. And you guys can do that super easy. It'll probably be about, I don't know, 30 chaos on the first couple days, and then after the first couple days of the league, it's just going to go down from there, and it'll be probably like 10 to 15 chaos for something like this. And also another option though that I'm going to show you guys when I give you those trade links for the trade website is you can always get a corrupted item, and you just search for the exact colors that you need on your build. And the reason you do that is usually corrupted 6-links are much cheaper because most people don't want to buy corrupted 6-links because you can't very easily change the colors. But if you specifically search for the colors you want, then it doesn't matter because you're getting exactly what you need. So I'll have a link for that later as a pretty good option for you guys to get a cheap 6-link. Or you could, of course, just use I don't have it here. You could use tabula. Here's another couple good options. You could use a wall of brambles. You could use a brass dome, whole bunch of stuff. And I've put those in there just so you can kind of see some different options. But of course, tabula works too. That's probably going to be about, 20 chaos, maybe even a little bit less. I feel like you're going to be able to farm tabulas very easy with the ritual. So we'll see on that one. So moving on to gloves, super simple gloves here. Just life, resistances. Get on some chaos resistances if you can. That accuracy, it doesn't matter, so you can even move to that to some resistances. And in the in-game build, just so y'all know, one of the things we are looking out for is a modifier that is +1 to, I think it's called +1 to maximum strike, or strikes one additional strike skills, strike one additional target, something like that. That's one of the modifiers you can look for on gloves as well. I'll talk about that when we do the in-game version of this build. But for now, honestly, all you need is this life and a little bit of resistances. Moving on to the boots, same thing here, life, resistances, get some chaos resistances if you can, and some move speed. Easy peasy. Definitely make sure you get the move speed here though, since we're getting a lot of increased move speed. The more move speed you have here, the better. Amulet, same thing. We're getting extremely cheap stuff. It is very important though that we're going to have a lot of dexterity requirements, so make sure you get some dex. Probably the easiest one to do it on is this amulet here. Get some life, some resistances, and we are going to be allocating a Ravenous Horde. So what Ravenous Horde is this node right here. Minions deal increased damage, increased movement speed, attack speed, cast speed, and minions have the onslaught, which doesn't matter for us, but a whole lot of damage on that one. So a very good anoint, and it's not too expensive to anoint either. Let's see if we can actually see what the anoint is. Verdant, opalescent, so not too bad. No golds or no silvers or anything like that, so not too bad for the anoint cost. Moving on to the rings here. I actually have two of the same rings just to kind of give you an example. Make sure they're unset rings. That's the only really big part. The only big part here about the rings. Make sure you're unset rings. Life and resistances. One thing that you can do is, actually, I was going to say that you could do, I usually on minion builds have +1 to minimum endurance throws, but we don't even need that on this build because we're going to be capped. So that just makes it even easier for you. Just life and resistances, and get some chaos resist, and make sure it is an unset ring. If you don't have dex on your amulet, you can maybe get some dex on here. And be just fine as well. So super cheap on the rings. Moving on to our belt, we have a 1 chaos item here, Darkness Enthroned, and you can actually probably farm this yourself as a solo self-found player. If you specifically spec into Abyss nodes on the Atlas, I'm pretty confident that you could start getting a lot of Abyss, and you can start getting some bosses from the Abyss. So this is probably pretty easy to farm on solo self-found. Not too bad. Or if you're on regular trade leagues, it's literally 1 chaos. And the best thing about this belt, 75% increase effect of socketed jewels, right? So these jewels we have here is just life. This is super basic. You could get a whole lot better jewel than this, but a little bit of life, and minions deal 18% increased damage if you use a minion skill recently. And Dominating Blow is a minion skill, and we're going to be using that all the time. So we're going to have this up 24/7. And then on top of that though, it's not even just that, it's 75% increased of that. So it's going to be another, math, it's going to be another like 14% increased damage, 14, 15, something like that. So a whole lot of minion damage for those two, and you just get 2 of the exact same things here. If you need to fill out resistances, you can put on that. One of the best jewels you could get is both of those mods, but also something like Blind on hit, Taunt on hit is very good, and you can also get even more of a crazy jewel would be minions deal additional physical damage. That would be very solid. Moving on to our flasks, we're going to get a Rumi's Concoction, which is going to be very good for our block chance for both our regular block and our spell block. And like I said earlier, we're very good on block chance on this build, so getting as much block chance is very good. And it gives us a little bit of armor as well, which helps with our physical damage mitigation. And we get a Jade Flask of curse removal, so of warding. So the things that you want to get here between these, make sure you always have curse removal, bleed removal, and freeze removal. And I'm not sure I have it exactly here. Let's see, I have 2 curses probably on accident, so I'll switch that for you guys. But make sure it's curse, bleed, and freeze removal between these flasks here. But a Jade Flask for evasion, a Basalt Flask for physical damage mitigation, and we do need an Enduring Mana Flask, I think. We'll have to test this, and if you guys are okay with not using it, then let's not use it. But the reason we're doing this is because we don't have too much mana here. So let's go down, let's look at our mana. So we have 64 unreserved mana, so that's not too bad. But Dominating Blow attacks so fast that you are using quite a bit of mana. We'll just have to play it by ear and see if we need that or not. We do have a good bit of mana regen here. We have almost 40 out of 64, so we might not need an Enduring Mana Flask. But basically what Enduring Mana Flask is you hit it, and it actually keeps giving you mana even after the flask is done. So basically you hit it once, it lasts what? It lasts almost 5 seconds. And for that 5 seconds, you basically, mana doesn't even matter to you because you're going to have full mana that whole time. And you could just keep pressing it, and basically it just solves all your mana problems. So if you're having mana problems, grab one of these. If you're not, go ahead and take something different. Also, one of my favorite flasks in the entire game, which I think gets no love, is the Forbidden Taste. So we have 75% chaos res in this build, right? So what the issue with this that people don't get it is 8% of maximum life taken is chaos damage per second. So that sounds pretty scary actually. But since we have so much chaos res, we're actually going to take almost no damage from this. And it's 100% of your maximum life on use. So it's a full heal. So if you had 1 life and you hit this, you would go up to full instantly. And you would take no damage because we have such high chaos resist. So it's just a fantastic flask. And then for on top of that, for about 5 seconds, you have 10% chance to dodge attacks and spells and phasing. So very, very good flask here. And we already talked about all of our little jewels. We talked about our medium clusters. We talked about our large clusters. The only other thing here is you actually get this while leveling. It's a quest reward, so make sure you pick this up. And it just helps with our mana, because like I said, here, let's take it off and I'll kind of show you guys. So we have 64 right now. If we didn't have that, we'd only have 38. So that's very rough. So that's not good. But where to go? Conqueror's Efficiency. So if we do have it, we're back up to that 64, which is, I think, going to be okay. So pick this up. Easy peasy. It's a quest reward. I think you get it in, where do you get it? I think you get it in Act 5. Make sure you pick this up and you should be good to go. Alright, so that was our leveling tree, that was our skills, that was our items. So let's go over the leveling notes. So what I've done here is a couple things. So I've included it here on the notes section. Everything that you need is in here. It goes basically from level 1 all the way up until you have all your gems, and it tells you exactly which gems that you should be getting, and it tells you where that you should be getting them as well. And then if you go to the very end here, this is where I have my extra little bits, as I call it. So I have a loot filter for you guys that you can use while leveling up that's going to help you guys find items that are specifically tailored to this build. And we're also going to have these things over here, which I'll show you in a little bit. But these are trade links, so you can literally just do this. You can copy this, go to pathofexile.com, or just type this into your search bar, right? And it's going to give you the search for a Brightbeak. It's going to give you the search for a Tabu link just to make it easier for you guys. And the ones where it's most important on is like these ones. So these medium cluster jewels. So we'll show you that in a little bit, but I'm trying to make it as easy for you guys as possible. So that's kind of where we're at here. It's in here, but I'm actually going to show you guys over here so it's a little bit prettier. I probably just blinded you guys with the brightness. Sorry about that. So level 1, we'll kind of go through this a little bit quick. I know this is a little bit longer of a video, so we'll go through it quick here, and you guys can always reference this. But level 1, Freezing Pulse, Arcane Surge. So the way I've done this here, and I'll kind of just really quick show you guys. I'm going to actually write this before I send this out to you guys. Up here like a little legend so you guys can understand a little bit better. But basically, if it's bold text, that means you're buying it from the vendor. If it's underlined, that means that you actually get that as a quest reward. And if it's nothing, that means you already have the jewel. So just to help out a little bit, and obviously the color relates to the color of the gem. So basically you get Freezing Pulse just naturally, you get Arcane Surge naturally, and then at level 4 after title item, you go back and you're going to get a Summon Phantasm as a quest reward, and you're going to link that to a purchased Holy Flame Totem. And you're also going to get Summon Raging Spirits, you're going to purchase that. And then we're also going to, oh, I'm sorry, you're not purchase it. You're gonna get that as a quest reward. And but we are gonna purchase Flame Wall, and we're gonna link that with Arcane Surge and Frost Blink. So that's kind of, you can kind of see how I set stuff up here. But Holy Flame Totem and Summon Phantasm mixed with Flame Wall is so good, guys. It's very good. I actually saw the Tai Killer video where he had a pretty good leveling time for leveling up a summoner, and I use that and I've been enjoying it, so shout out to him for that for sure. Holy Flame Totem, Summon Phantasm with Flame Wall, very good. And you just kind of spam some Summon Raging Spirits here and there, mainly for single target, and it's very good. So moving on to level 8, Holy Flame Totem, Summon Phantasm, and Combustion here. So this is actually kind of big here. So basically what Combustion does is it makes anytime you have an Ignite with that skill, they're going to get fire. I don't know if it's fire exposure, but it is like -12 fire resistance. And that's going to combo really nicely with your Summon Raging Spirits, Infernal Legion, and minion damage. Let me tell you guys, this is actually insane. I love leveling up with SRS, Infernal Legion, minion damage. You have such good area of effect clear, and it does so much damage. So to combo that with Holy Flame Totem and Combustion for some fire resistant shred is super, super good. I've done this leveling build multiple times, and it's a super nice, really fast experience. Flame Wall, Arcane Surge, Frost Blink, and we're going to pick up a zombie here. Moving on here to level 10. We're going to get a Vitality. Vitality is crazy strong, guys. It is very good for keeping all of your minions alive. I don't use Raise Zombie until I have Vitality. I don't even mess with it because your zombies are just going to die because they're little plebs. But once you have Vitality, they're going to regen and it's going to be totally fine. Vitality is actually so strong that the Infernal Legion damage that it deals to the Summon Raging Spirits, you actually out-heal that with Vitality. Just super, super strong. Now, Smoke Mine is a personal preference. I like it because it just makes you go zoom zoom. Basically, you combo it. You put your, how do you say it? Your mine detonate skill on your left click, and you throw out your Smoke Mine, and since your finger's going to be on your left click, it automatically sends you to that spot, and then you cast Flame Dash. So it's like a double dash. Super, super good. Kind of weird to explain right there, but that's kind of the basics of how you do that. It's a personal preference. I like it. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Flame Wall, Arcane Surge, Flame Dash. So we're going to drop Frost Blink. We're going to get Flame Dash. Moving on, Flesh Offering, we're going to pick up. Very, very good. 16, we're going to get Desecrate and Skitterbots. Skitterbots are fantastic early on because it shocks and it chills. Moving on to level 18, you're going to have your zombies. You're going to get a quest reward for minion speed, and we're going to purchase melee fizz there from that vendor as well. Moving on to level 24, we're going to pick up Convocation. And we're also going to start running Dread. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to pick up Dread Banner and Pride, but we're going to level those in our offhands. We're not going to start using them yet. We're just going to use that Skitterbots for now. What we are going to do is we're going to change at level 28, which is when we can use Dominating Blow. And that's going to be our first 4-link. We're going to be wanting to make sure that we're looking out for these colors. And again, I have that loot filter for you guys to use, so definitely check out that loot filter. It's going to help you find the colors for all of these items so much easier. But basically, you can do Dominating Blow, minion damage, melee physical, and then either faster attacks or maim. Ideally, you do want a green socket, not necessarily for faster attacks, but later on we're going to get Impale. So it's just going to make it easier for you guys so you don't have to keep finding different 4-links. But if you can't find a red, red, blue, green, you can always just get a red, 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 blue. So kind of whatever works best for you guys and what y'all find. So I gave you some options there. So moving on to level 31, this is the library quest. Definitely make sure you guys do this library side quest because it's going to give you access to some skills that we're not going to be able to get through normal questing. So we're going to have zombies, feeding frenzy. That's going to be the one that we actually get from the skill quest. Or as our reward, and melee fizz. And we are going to start using Dread Banner, and we're going to purchase Generosity. So Dread Banner Generosity is fantastic for Impale. Once we have Impale going and Dread Banner and Generosity, we're going to start doing some serious damage. Dominating Blow, minion damage, melee fizz, and Impale. And I actually forgot to show you, we'll show you in a little bit, but you're going to have, I think Brightbeak is your leveling unique. It's a one-hander that has crazy high attack speed. It's like one alchemy orb to the cost of it. It's incredibly cheap, and that's going to carry you so much because you're going to be able to attack so fast and get out minions. I don't know why I thought now was a good chance to bring that up. We'll talk about it a little bit, but it's fantastic. By now, by 31, you will have most likely the currency to go ahead and purchase a Brightbeak, and you will be flying. You're going to be doing so much damage. I've run this a couple times. It's just so much damage. even on a 4-link, even if you don't have Tabula yet. It's crazy. So shield charge, faster attacks, fortify, molten shell. And again, you can choose shield charge or you can use whirling blades. It depends on what weapon you're using. If you have that bright beak, you do need a shield charge because you can't use whirling blades with bright beak. We're also going to pick up assassin's mark here. We're only going to use that for bosses. It's so much damage, but it's only for bosses, so don't worry about it. Just doing regular mapping. We're going to pick up precision as well, but we're going to level that up in our offhand. We don't need that yet. It's just going to hurt our mana. So do not use this right when you get it. It's going to make your mana problems really bad. Just level it up in your offhand. Moving on to 34. This is kind of where we're going to get our real setup going. And we're going to hopefully have a few different 4-links at this point. We're also going to be dropping Holy Flame Totem at this point. So we're going to have it all the way up until now. So we're going to be having Carrion Golem, Zombie, Feeding Frenzy, and Mabe. And again, if your zombies are dying and you're not liking that setup, you can always do Meat Shield. And that way we're getting Carrion Golems all the time, which the reason we're using Carrion Golems, by the way, is they give a buff to our Dominating Blow minions that is extra physical damage. So it's actually a buff that's giving damage to our minions. So that's why we're using Carrion Golems. And we're also getting even more buffs by Feeding Frenzy and Maim. So very good setup here, lots of additional damage. And back to Dominating Blow, Minion Damage, Melee Fizz, and Impale. By 34, definitely try and find a 4-link with those colors because that combo right there is just crazy, crazy damage. Dread Banner, Generosity, Convocation, Skitterbots, pretty much everything that you're going to see here. It's not necessarily in any order. You can really just get any of these jewels on any sockets throughout your gear. Just make sure at least you have that Dread Banner, Generosity linked together. We are at this point going to drop Vitality. So you had it earlier, we're going to drop it in order to use Skitterbots. And again, like I said right here, you may need to use a Mana Flask to be able to sustain Dominating Blow mana cost. And get that Enduring Mana Flask if you can. You probably can't early on. Just have a Mana Flask if you can, and that'll probably help out quite a bit. You can drop it later, but right when you start doing this, I think you probably will need a Mana Flask. Shield Charge, Faster Attacks, Fortify, Molten Shell. Very good. And moving on here, we have Pride, Flame Dash, Flesh Offering, Desecrate, Smoke Mine, Assassin's Marks, all stuff that we've already gotten. We're going to have a Race Spectre that we're going to be leveling up in our offhand here. Very important, because we do use that later on. Level 38. Just so you know, we use the Race Spectre in our very end game build. We don't use it in the end of our budget build, but just level it up because it's very nice to have a leveled up Race Spectre for that end game build. So let's go ahead and do that. Level 38 is when we get our multi-strike, and that is where the damage skyrockets. Multi-strike is insane. So let me change this for you guys. Dominating Blow is a red gem. Apologies on that. So Dominating Blow, Minion Damage, Impale, Multi-Strike. That is just insane damage once you get that, and it goes even crazier once you have this. So Lily in Act 6, she sells Brutality. So we're going to pick up Brutality. And we're going to have Dominating Blow, Impale, Brutality, and Multi-Strike. So your colors do change a little bit here. So just anywhere between level 38 and onward, just be looking out for those right there. Again, I have that on the leveling filter, the loot filter. So you will be able to highlight a red, green item. Just make sure you pick that up and have it ready. And do note, I actually don't have it on the notes here, and I just thought about this off the top of my head. You can actually do a crafting recipe for +1 to minion gems for your helmet, and that would be fantastic to have your Dominating Blow in there. So basically, the way you do the crafting recipe for +1 to your helmet, and I might say this wrong, I'll put up a note on the screen if I do say it wrong, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to get any life flask, okay, and you're going to combine that with a, what is it called? It's called a Bone Spirit Shield, which heavily drops in like Act 2, and I have that highlighted in the loot filter. So if you ever see a Bone Spirit Shield drop, pick it up, because you're going to exchange that. Make sure it's a magic one, I think with a Transmute Orb and a regular life flask, and that's going to give you a life flask of animation, which basically is a life flask that gives your minions some life regen. But we're also going to take that, and then let's say you have a 4-link, right? So just a regular 4-link white item, or I'm sorry, it has to be a magic item, so a blue. You have a regular 4-link blue item with the right colors. You're going to take that flask of animation and you're going to vendor that with that helmet and an alteration, and it's going to give you a +1 to maximum level of minion gems, socketed minion gems. So that's a super easy craft that you guys can do yourself, and it's a lot of extra damage. So I plan on doing that. And I did want to mention that, so I'm glad that I remembered that. Cool, and that's how we level up the build. Super easy. There's nothing crazy about this at all. I laid this out for you guys, and as you remember, this is all in the path of building under the notes section. And so now let's kind of go over the next stuff. So again, the extra bits. Let's go here. So this is my loot filter. Basically, let's click on it here. So leveling minion build. It'll look like this page for you, and you're just going to want to copy it. Let's see. I think it's called copy. Follow. The best way to do it is to follow it, because if you follow it, you'll get automatically updated when I update it myself. So when I click this edit button and I change some things in there, if you've followed it, it just automatically gets updated for you. If you copy it, you have to manually do it. So I would suggest following it. But very, very good for your loot filter to level up. I'm going to be doing this myself. So moving on here, and again, you know, if you click these links within that POB notes section, it'll take you to all of these trades, and I'm making it as easy as possible for you guys. So Brightbeak, 1 chaos, and you can use this at level 20. So I'm going to be picking, this is going to be my #1 purchase of the league, is a Brightbeak. And the reason it's so good is look how fast this is. 2.1 attacks per second. It is so fast, and that's the issue. Every time that I've played Dominating Blow as a leveling character, you attack so slow, and it feels kind of not good, and it takes a while to get your minions out. Once they're out, you're zooming, and you do so much damage. And the answer to that was Brightbeak. Now you attack so fast that you get your minions out so fast, and you're just full zooming, and you're just destroying everything. So, and it's super, super cheap. I would suggest this as your first purchase of the league. Moving on, Tabula Rasa. I think you can farm this yourself, guys, by doing rituals in lower level zones. So for example, like the coast, it's unconfirmed, but I think you can farm it in the coast. And you can get one probably within like an hour of just farming that. So, but usually they're about 30 chaos in a league, and this is probably the second most important item that you want to save up your currency for, just to get that 6 link. It's absolutely huge. Moving on to the weapon here. Now what I've done here is I've filtered this out for you guys to make sure it has that modifier that I was talking about earlier. Make sure it's a scepter, so a melee weapon. And I also did it to where it has an empty suffix modifier. And that's because if you ever want to further craft this item, what would be really nice is if you had the craft triggers a socketed spell when you use a skill. So that would be fantastic on here, because then you could put like your desecrate, your flesh offering, that type of stuff in your weapon, and it would automate that for you. So very, very good. But if you use this, just note a scepter, you won't be able to use whirling blade. You'll have to use shield charge. Not a big deal, it's just personal preference. One of the other ways that you could do it is a Gemini claw. So a claw will let you do whirling blades, and the Gemini claws are fantastic because they give you life on hit and mana on hit. So very, very good option there. And what you would do for that one is you would just use an Essence of Fear. So you're going to use an Essence of Fear on that Gemini claw, and it's going to give you probably about 60% minion damage. So you won't get this. Minions have 5% chance to deal double damage, but you'll get a lot of minion damage by using Essence of Fear on a Gemini claw. I think that's probably the second best option. Super, super cheap. Super, super cheap. These are like 5 chaos, and I think they're going to be even less than that in the next league. Now, for these next things, I wanted to show you guys a website, how I kind of do my research on these cluster jewels. I use Craft of Exile. So what is this? This is the medium cluster jewel, and I'll just show you a real quick tip here, guys. So we want Feasting Fiends and Renewal for our medium. So look at it. It says eye level 1 for Feasting Fiends and eye level 50 for Renewal. So we need at least an eye level 50 jewel in order to roll both of these things. But look at some of these other things. There's this one, Blessed Rebirth. It's at level 68. So if we had a level 68 or above item level jewel, we would actually be able to roll that as well. And we don't want to do that. We want to roll the fewest amount of things possible so we can hit what we want. So that's why I've made sure over here, I've actually just done it for you guys. This is the exact jewel that you want. I have the eye levels down here. I have a Corrupted No. And it's the passives, 4 to 5 passives, and it's the minion. So this is exactly what you want to be able to craft. Buy one of these, the cheapest one that you can find. They're not going to be 20 chaos, they'll be cheaper than that. Buy it, scour it, and craft it yourself. So super easy, and I did the same thing here for you guys on the large one. All we want is that Rotten Claws, and it's a item level 50, so we don't want anything above level 68. because then we'll roll raise and pillage. We might be able to roll skeletal atrophy, and we don't want those. So it just makes it easier to roll if you do the correct item level. And I did that for you guys over here too. Again, it won't be that expensive. It'll be much cheaper than that. This is standard prices. Moving on, Darkness Enthroned, super easy, 1 chaos. Click that link, get you guys Darkness Enthroned. These are the jewels that you want. This is the life and minions deal increased damage if you used minion skill recently. This is the filters that you can see right there. Moving on to the next one. Here is a Lion's Eye Remorse. I'm not confident how much these are at the beginning of the leagues. I feel like there may be like 10 to 20 chaos in the beginning of leagues, and then they go down super fast on like day 3 or 4. They go down to like 5 chaos. So it just depends on when you're playing the build. If you're playing in the middle of the league, this is going to be super cheap. If you're playing on day 1 or 2, this might be like 10 chaos, 15 chaos, something like that. But it gives so much life, and it gives a fantastic armor. So super good, and also the 30% chance to block. So really good. You can use any shield that you want, but I do think this is a pretty good option. The Rumi's Concoction. Here's this one for you guys, and here is one of the in-game claws that you can use. There are better options than this, but it's super cheap. They're going to be about 5 chaos, 5 to 10 chaos, and it gives you some nice stuff. It gives you this one right here. Where is it? Minion steal. So minions deal 70% increased damage if you've hit recently, which is all the time. Minions have some attack speed, and it's a good claw. It's pretty solid claw, but like I said, where is it over here? Where are you? This guy is probably going to be your end game weapon. You're going to make sure you get this node, this affix right here, and then you're going to craft yourself that trigger socketed spells on you. So I think that's probably going to be your end game weapon. Or you could do the Scourge, either one, totally up to you. So yeah, so that's all the helpful links that I've kind of given you guys to make it as easy as possible for you guys to level up this build, to play the build, have fun. It's so much damage, it's so cheap. You guys seriously cannot go wrong. The only way that you would probably not want to do this build is if you don't like the play style of being able to, of having to attack in order to spawn your minions. But everybody that I've talked to said that if they were hesitant at first, once they started playing, they absolutely loved it. It's a nice change of pace from running in circles 24/7 to now you only have to run in circles 50% of the time, because that other 50% you're spawning your minions, and then you run in circles for a while, and then you kind of repeat the process. So in my opinion, it's a pretty fun play style. And on top of that, now we're doing Guardian, which is going to make us super tanky. We're very fast. We're going to be zoom boys. And the end game version of this build, which will cover probably maybe 4 or 5 days after the league starts, I'll have an end game version of this, and it will be insane. It's double the damage of this, what we have here, and it's got 60,000 armor, so you have 90% physical damage reduction, you've got 80% cold resistance, and it's CI as well, so we're energy shield, and you've got about 8.5k energy shield. So it's incredibly tanky, and you've actually got 60, I think it's what, 59 block chance, so 59 block chance, 59 spell block chance, super defense, and super damage. How can you ask for more? So I'm looking forward, this is actually going to be my league starter, guys, so I'm looking forward to this quite a bit. I was deciding between this, spectres, or carrion golems, and I did settle on this because I think this is going to be the cheapest route, and it's the most damage, so it just kind of makes sense to me. I do think the Carrion Golem build and the Spectre build are both going to be totally fine. I think they have a decent amount of damage, a decent amount of survivability. Even though they did get a lot of nerfs, I think they're going to be just fine. And I do have League Starter build guides coming out for those within the next day or so as well, along with multiple other guides. I'm going to have a Blade Vortex Poison build guide coming out, and I'm also going to have a Slayer Discharge hipster build that does insane damage, which actually got buffed. It's doing 25 million ignite damage. I've been teasing this one since the last league, and I've never got around to doing it, so I'm finally going to do a league starter build for it. It's so much damage, it's actually insane, and it's a full screen of discharge. Super fun. But yeah, that's all I got on this one, guys. I hope you guys, if y'all have made it this far, you guys are awesome. Let me know in the comments that you actually survived this entire video. And I hope I can see you guys in the next one. And if y'all do end up playing this, let me know in the comments. I'm super excited to see if you guys play it too and how it's working out for you guys. So I will catch y'all on the next one, which should be very, very soon. Thanks, guys.